I have a problem, and it's not the fact that my videos suck, although that is another problem, it's the fact that I am a weeaboo. So in today's video, I'm going to build a gaming PC using only the best waifu components. So the majority of these components are pretty difficult to find. Most of the components can only be bought in China from the likes of AliExpress. I always find it a bit weird how none of these components are from Japan, but then again, how many Japanese PC component manufacturers are there? Close to zero, I'd probably guess. So I guess that will make me like a China boo or something. What do you think, Shi? Although anime is Japanese, so it gets to be somewhere in the middle. In the end, I bought all these PC components, making sure I used incognito mode in the process. A lot of these components cost more than the equivalent non-waifu parts, but you know, it's worth it just for that extra performance your waifu will give your PC. So let's start out with the PC case first. This is the Corsair 3000D PC case, and I know what you're saying. This case doesn't have any waifus on it. But don't worry, I've got a plan for that later. So first let's take out these black fans. I don't know why they would include black fans on the white PC case. And then we'll move on to the motherboard instead, because I can't seem to focus on one thing. So here we have the Asus ROG Strix B760G Waifu Edition. It's not actually called the Waifu Edition, but it has Asus's waifu on it, which is this main character called 7. This motherboard cost me around $220, which seems very steep, but I will say the quality and design are surprisingly really good. In the box there's some nice artwork, a Wi-Fi antenna, a bunch of customized stickers and accessories, and the instruction manual has also been designed using the character, which is a nice addition. On the motherboard we have the main character on the side by the I/O, and this only appears on the more expensive boards, which is kind of ridiculous. Then we have this secondary design down here, and even on the socket cover we have this chibi design. On the back, the character is printed onto almost the whole of the PCB. This motherboard has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, a built-in I/O shield, and also this cool latch which you can easily use to remove your graphics card. And to go with this motherboard, we have the Intel Core i5-12400F. Not the best CPU, but it's the CPU I already had laying around, so might as well use it. And in order to make it a waifu CPU, I just stuck this Shin-chan sticker onto the middle. Yeah, I know Shin-chan's not a waifu, like he's 5 years old, but this was the only anime-ish stickers I had. Now for the RAM, we have the XPG ROG Strix 32GB of 6400MHz DDR5 kit. This is the same design as the motherboard, and despite it saying ROG Strix, it is in fact made by Adata. I guess it's some sort of collab between Asus and Adata. The memory has the same character as before on both the sides of the memory, and it cost $140, which is quite high I'd say. So let's get that installed. Getting a CPU cooler was a little more difficult. There aren't really that many out there with the correct designs, but in the end I opted to use this Thermalright Frozen Warframe which has a screen on it, and I'm just going to put something weird on the screen instead. This is quite cheap at about $80. My original plan was to use this Yeston Sakura CPU cooler, and that already has the Yeston waifu on it. But I actually think the design doesn't really work in this PC, and the radiator is too big unless I put it at the front of the case, which I don't think looks very good. So let's install this CPU cooler. And now that we've got the motherboard in the PC case, we can see the micro ATX board in the ATX case does look a little odd with the gap at the bottom. I searched everywhere, but I couldn't find a PSU with cartoon girls on it. So instead, I'm using this Corsair RM850 that I had. It's not like you'll be able to see the PSU anyway, because this case has a PSU cover. I did, however, get some nice cables to go with the build. Now, I'm not sure this mystical creature counts as a waifu, but maybe for someone it does. This is the 1TB NVMe SSD, and it's capable of around 3000 megabytes per second. Not the fastest SSD, but it should definitely do the trick. I then just used some basic white Thermalright fans for the case and the radiator. They look alright to be fair, and they have the RGB ring around the side. Remember when I said I have an idea for the case? Well, this is it. These are like plastic PSU cover things that I got custom made, and they light up also, so that's pretty cool I guess. And they fit in like so. Okay, time for the best bit. Well, maybe not once you see the card I got. So for the graphics card, we have the Maxon iCraft RTX 4060 Ti. Definitely not the best card, but who cares when you have anime girls on the backplate? There are a few options out there like the Yeston Sakura cards, but I think this looks a little better and fits this build a bit more. Like the motherboard, this is a really well made product by an official vendor. It includes stickers, has the character on the fans, and the backplate is designed nicely. And also, as it turns out, I just found you can buy this on Amazon, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. I also got a small USB powered screen to put in the case so I can add more waifus. And now we're just going to wire everything up, tidy it up, and we're done. And here it is, the waifu PC. But does it even game? So starting up the PC, we get this instead of the Asus logo, to make sure everyone knows you're gaming on a waifu PC. In Red Dead Redemption 2 at the highest settings 1440p with TAA on, we got an average of 74.4 FPS, with a 1% low of 64.5 and a 0.1% low of 59.9 FPS, so this is perfectly playable. The game was very smooth and an overall great experience. Cyberpunk at ray tracing ultra settings with DLSS turned off gave us a respectable 26.2 FPS. A playable experience, but I think for the RTX 4060 Ti it was a little too demanding, especially with the ray traced lighting. The game was still quite smooth with a 1% low of 19.8 and a 0.1% low of 13.8 FPS, so this was showing that there wasn't too much stuttering going on. You could also turn down these settings or turn off ray tracing, or even turn on DLSS if you wanted a higher FPS. Minecraft at 45 chunks with all that smooth lighting, fancy graphics and stuff turned on, gave us 119.7 FPS, and then I also decided to turn the render distance up to 96 chunks, and we were still getting 66.8 FPS. The 1% low was not too bad either, at 35.3 FPS, but the 0.1% low was quite low at 15.5 FPS. I think this card realistically needs more than 8GB of video memory. Next we have Forza at extreme settings, and the occasional memory warning will pop up saying there's not enough VRAM. I think that's the negative of this card, as 8GB really isn't enough in 2024. We did however still get a high FPS of 83.2 at 1440p. There was some stuttering here and there, probably due to the memory issues as we said before, and this was shown by the 1% and 0.1% low being at 6.3 and 1.6 respectively. It would be rude not to test out Genshin Impact considering all the artwork on the PC. And, you know, a Chinese game that tries to act Japanese should go well with my Chinese PC that tries to act Japanese. I've never actually properly played this game before, but I have everything on the highest, including SMA, A, anti-aliasing. And it seems like you can only choose 60 FPS as the maximum frame rate. So in Genshin we got 60.3 FPS as the average, but it doesn't really show the full potential of the card. The 1% low shows a little more as it was at 47.3 FPS. Anyway, I don't really see how you can properly test this game. I ran 3D Mark TimeSpy and we got a decent score of 13,161 for the graphics, and a total of 12,447. So it's more than enough for playing most games. So overall, the PC is pretty decent, I would say. But I guess all that matters is the waifus on the PC. Thanks for watching.